I did an extensive show on Twitter Spaces, and even me as a pharmacist, I was just impressed with myself. Why not? If you
Mm.
have any sentiments about this case, drop them now because this case is more complicated. What Mohbad was beyond the nurse. It's what we call a drug interaction.
Say what by Mohbad? Sorry, going forward because of community.
Well, because of the thing. Okay, what
Yes.
by
What I am.
yeah, what by Mohbad goes beyond the nurse. It's what we call a drug interaction in pharmacy. First of
Hmm.
all, the part with the party was misconstrued. I was the first person to announce that Mohbad of it related overdose or something called opiates in his system. There were drugs in his system. Everything now comes together and makes sense after that press conference. CPO did a fantastic press conference. Basically, bottom line is many things we've assumed were not happening. Naira Marley give him his royalties. Naira Marley give him his money. That was all done. We didn't know. The people that did the concert and the sponsors, who people were complaining that they haven't said anything, they have. There were 26 witnesses, and they went and they spoke one by one. I want to shout out especially Soso Berekon and Cubana Chief Priest. Mohbad had got his life together. I was the one that posted his business papers from the CAC. He created his own company and he started his new life. And this would have been his first Mohbad concert, which is why I praise Soso Berekon and Cubana and I think it's the General Bitters, which is their brand. They gave him a second chance. What happened that night could have been avoided. Basically, this 10 minutes I have, I'm going to do it fast freeze. What happened was that at the end of the concert, Mohbad was high. I mean, he was, CPO called it hyper. That's the word he used. We have consistently told artists that they don't need to perform. Some artists said they need it to give them the energy. And I've spoken to Mohbad on October 5th, 2022, this time last year after the fight, and he told me he used Marley a lot and tramadol. Now, whatever was in his system reacted badly with ceftriaxone, an antibiotic, which is like basically broad spectrum, kills a lot of infection. As they were leaving the concert, Mohbad wanted to stand in the SUV. They hired a Jeep, and the Jeep owner rented that Jeep for them. He wanted to stand up at the back of the Jeep and wave to the fans. The area boys surrounded the car, the fans surrounded the car. With the area boys, you can't leave until you give them money. He wanted to do that, but Prime Boy did not want him to do that because it's dangerous. We've seen politicians, Indira Gandhi, even the Pope. Anyone can shoot you for standing on top like that. So Prime Boy told him to get down. So he punched Prime Boy. He didn't want. He wanted to see his fans, everything. And he was impaired. They mentioned that in the press conference. As a result of that punch, Prime Boy had to punch him back. This is the situation in which, this is the reason why I said Prime Boy should never have talked to TVC, because now he has created a profile for himself. Imagine him going to get a visa now at any embassy. All that stuff is on TVC. It was not necessary. Everything the police wanted you for, you should have gone in the police with your lawyer and talked, not to the media. Now that's there forever. Poster, wanted, 1 million. You can explain that at the embassy, but all the interviews was not necessary. So at the end of the day, it's like a police officer. I've seen it many times in America. A police officer is trying to subdue somebody who's drunk or somebody who's high, and that officer doesn't have a weapon. Imagine, the person that punches the officer. Without a weapon, the officer obviously will call for backup. Okay, that's not the regular. Most officers have weapons. They have the Kondo baton. So what the officer will do is to subdue that person by punching them back and subduing them. And that's what happened. So Prime Boy literally punched Mohbad back to get him down. So now he got down, and Mohbad got angry and left the SUV, opened the door and came out of the SUV and punched the SUV. No, freeze, you had to see the pictures.
No,
He
no,
was
no.
so angry.
Now, Kemi, this thing you are saying. Can you
Yeah.
prove it?
No, it's not about proving. I was in the press conference live. He showed the picture. CPO showed the picture, and I'm trying to reach Shawore now because Sahara reporters are the only ones I follow. That picture was shown on the press conference, and you know the whole reporters we have in Nigeria. If I was in that press conference physically, I'll say, CPO, please, can you leave that photo on the table so we can all come and snap it one by one? I saw it. What M0hBad did was when he now opened the SUV, they said he punched directly into the SUV, and the driver called the owner and said they've punched the car. The part where he punched was where the window, you know when you are standing outside an SUV, somebody's in the back seat, you want to greet them. You know they will wind down. At one point, the window will go inside the car. Here you know, when you want to wind up, the window will come back up. You know that place where the window now becomes part of the car, metal and glass? That's where he punched. So his hand was completely bleeding and damaged. He punched it hard. You have to see the picture. So that's why I said I'm trying to reach Sahara reporters, because somebody should take that picture inside that press conference and post it online. They will do that, but let's just see. If not, I would tell Ben Hyundai. I've been on the phone, I've on WhatsApp messaging with Ben Hyundai for 12 days. I helped the police a lot in this case. Now, what they now did basically was they rushed him home. He was supposed to go to the hospital. He said he did not want to go to the hospital. M0hBad went home. He did not go to the hospital. When he got home, he wanted to be treated at home. The bleeding was really bad, bad. When you're bleeding and you're losing blood, you're dying slowly. Go to the hospital. They said he refused. His whole family wanted him to go. He refused.
How come we didn't hear this part of the story? Are you sure of this?
Because it's an investigation and it will be compromised. Even me, I heard some parts of it and I couldn't say anything. See, the people say, oh, Cubana hasn't talked. So is quiet. Everybody, they were all there, 26 witnesses. Even Bella, remember I tweeted Bella's mother, I said, you must go into the police in 2 days. Police even tweeted and said, we're waiting for you. All of them spoke to Bella, called, Selatan went in there, everyone went in there. But when you're doing an investigation, you cannot compromise it. This is a social media trial. A lot of people are sentimental on social media. You saw the fight I had with Yabo in between there. Let's go on, because I only have the 10 minutes you said. Now, knowing that M0hBad's hand had fragments of glass and metal, the first day he was bleeding a lot. Listen now, freeze. They called Fumi M0hBad's nurse, private duty nurse. You know private duty nurses make a lot of money. They're everywhere in the world. Nigerians go to London just to do that. So Fumi was not around, out of town. So they called Feishayo Ogedengbe, who was M0hBad's friend's nurse. Now, Ogedengbe is nurse to Ayobami Sadiq, whose name is Spending. That's his nickname, Spending. Spending now called Feishayo, an auxiliary nurse. Feishayo was asked to treat M0hBad in the house. She went to get the. Believe it or not, all that lady got, they were correct. And I'll go through them real quick. Yeah, she had the right combination, but the problem was that she was an auxiliary nurse. She can only administer those drugs supervised by a registered nurse, RN. You know that level of nursing? The UK has it, the US has it, LPN, GPN, RN, midwives. Just like we pharmacists, the pharmacy techs can dispense medicines. They can counsel my patients. If I'm tired and I say, when I was pregnant with KJ, I sat down here throughout and I would say, go and tell that person, take it with food. But I'm the one that has to authorize the medicine to go out. You see what I'm saying? So she didn't do that. She was trained at an Ogun State clinic. The CMD for that hospital where she trained, she testified. The CMD people means Chief Medical Director of Perez Hospital, they all testified. Everybody came out to the police. They can't tell us that. Now, the CMD was the one that said, yes, we trained Feishayo here, but she's not allowed to be administering those IVs. Let me tell you the combination of drugs she got. There is a doctor on social media called Aproroko Doctor, and there's another one called Dr. Olunloyo. They're on Twitter. I think Aproroko is on Instagram too. In the coming days, I'm expecting them to do something about this because they're medical doctors that are social media savvy. But as a pharmacist and an investigative journalist, this is why I came out today and spoke to people. She got procaine, which is a local anesthetic, so the pain can go down. This boy is still bleeding. What's in infection? Now, she got iodine tincture. Iodine will clean the wound and you'll change it every 2 days. She got diclofenac. 75 milligrams SR. He'll take that every 12 hours for the pain. She got paracetamol. She was feeding that through an IV line, a drip. As she was feeding the paracetamol through the IV line, basically M0hBad was restricted to a bed or a chair. So that as he's taking diclofenac and the procaine, when the pain comes, the backup pain will be the paracetamol. She had a fantastic combination. Finally, you need an antibiotic. Freeze. I just had my 3rd foot procedure, and I'm on an antibiotic now because I'm having swelling. I have a soft tissue injury. You need an antibiotic. She chose ceftriaxone. This is where I blame NAFDAC. I've been shouting it forever. Regulate pharmacy, regulate pharmacy. People are buying what they want. She went to the pharmacy and brought ceftriaxone. She added it to the IV line with the paracetamol. She did it well. The problem is that if she had a registered nurse, they won't put the ceftriaxone directly in the IV. They should try it intramuscular, IM, which means give it as an injection in the box. If you give it as an injection in box, you can see if there's going to be a reaction. But she ran it in the IV on her own. Now, M0hBad started convulsing. He had what they call an anaphylactic reaction. Shock. So he went, anaphylactic shock. Yeah, anaphylactic reaction. Wow. So anaphylactic reaction will turn into anaphylactic shock, and you literally be in shock. You won't be able to move, do anything. As you're in shock, you're actually 80% bite. So you get it. You still have 20% life. So when those boys were carrying him to the hospital and say, you know, remember they were videotaping him. Something moved around his neck and they stopped videotaping. They didn't want us to see anymore. He was actually possibly 95% still, 5% still alive. So what now happened is, if you look at Naira Marley's questions, they're now valid. Where were you coming from? Where were you taking him? Who paid Instablog to say he had ear infection? You see why Naira Marley posed those kind of questions? Who said they should say his ear infection to a blog that will make it even viral? Wrong information went out. So they now took him home. Why didn't M0hBad go to the hospital? The ceftriaxone is a very, very potent and good antibiotic. We're using that for a lot of infections. He had a reaction to it. If they had been in a clinical setting, a hospital, freeze, they would have given that boy vasoconstrictors right away. Vasoconstrictors, epinephrine, EpiPen, ordinary EpiPen in America that will carry on us. If bee stings us, yeah, you know that EpiPen. If bee sting you, American bee, the yellow one, emoji bee, you know, they're the worst, though. We shook it like that. But they were not in a clinical setting. If M0hBad had that anaphylactic reaction to ceftriaxone IV in a hospital, they would give him epinephrine right away and they'll pull the drip, but they were in a house. So they were now rushing into the hospital. In that car, Wumi and the nurse was in the back.
From my understanding of medicine, if what you are saying is correct, I'm not saying what you are saying is correct before they come and hold me. He will have needed adrenaline straight to the heart.
So but what is happening is that
an auxiliary nurse cannot inject the heart. That will have to be
no.
From my
What happened was the reaction came in the IV line. You know, that nurse is going to get off if they go to court, and I'll tell you that now. This is the very important part. Anybody that wants to hear this whole story, because Freeze is giving me 10 minutes, you go to Twitter Spaces, I've put it there. Freeze, what is going on now is that they now rushed him to the hospital as a last-minute thing because the family believed he was still alive, which is what CPO said. CPO said the family said he was still alive, that they're not going to accept that. So in the car that we saw, Wumi and the nurse were in the back seat, and the guys were in the front seat taking him to the hospital. When they arrived at Perez, he was pronounced on arrival, DOA. In Nigeria, they call it
DOA.
By DOA in America, BID, brought in by in Nigeria. So at the end of the day, Freeze, it was that day, the 12th, that I posted at 8 o'clock in the morning, my own time. I was in Pacific at that time with my son. And it was Pacific time, but 8 o'clock Nigerian time. And I said, I'm very sad today. Please pray for me. I just got some bad news. I posted it, but I didn't want to be the one to announce. So by 4:30 Nigerian time, Perez Hospital declared him and they wrote the certificate. Now listen, it was that day that I posted and I said, a source from a hospital, I didn't mention the hospital because you don't want to narrow down on your source. If you're a journalist, you must keep your source. A source told me that he had in his system and that there were opiates in his system and he might have had a cardiac arrest based on those opiates. That's what somebody did. Somebody called from the hospital and messaged me and said, you are a good journalist, your work is viral, you need to put the truth out there because they're saying that somebody injected him in our hospital and it's not our hospital. Tell me your hospital, I won't tell anybody. The person won't tell me the hospital. So that reason I gave was right after all. But in the system, what kind of, at least if you bring a body in and they have to certify it, at least take samples of the urine, put a catheter, see what was in the system. First things, and they send it for toxicology. Now the autopsies they've told us everything. What's happened to M0hBad? Basically, I don't want to say it insensitively, but I want to go out now. I have called people today. Freeze, Omoned Nwoko, Regina's husband. I have sent him WhatsApp message. I said, Ned, we have to talk about this because if we're going to put anything in law, this is the pharmaceutical law that we need to put in. We have somebody in the National Assembly now, Ned is there. Somebody has to sponsor this bill. Why? Because the third day, the day he was going to buy, this woman went to get something like HCT. They said it on the news conference. And the hydrochlorizer would have reduced his blood pressure, but it was too late. He had an anaphylactic, it was an anaphylactic shock. That's why he was still 90% alive. So what could have happened here, and this is what I think happened. Not only did he react to the ceftriaxone, which is unusual. I had 2 pharmacists in America watching with me on that news conference and 1 journalist from Canada, all Oyinbo. What happened is, he told Oladimeji Ilerioluwa, M0hBad told me when he had the fight with Naira, the October 5th fight that I documented, that he used Marley. He likes Marley and tramadol. So if Marley and tramadol was inside him, 3,4-methoxy, dioxymethamphetamine, if Marley was inside him, ecstasy, MDMA, the antibiotic reacted with the drug inside his system. That's what I think happened here. So now they have to prove that because ceftriaxone antibiotic alone, okay, in an IV with paracetamol is unlikely to kill him. It was a interaction with one of the drugs in his system, wait, that part I mustn't lose my train of thought, which brings me to why he did not want to go to the hospital. Why M0hBad did not want to go to the hospital is that he did not want his vitals taken. If he goes to the hospital, they will take his urine and they will notice that there's in the system. M0hBad did not want anybody to know that he was still using drugs. He had told his fans he was drug free. So that's why he avoided the hospital. He did not want to go. And now the reaction.
But this is you assuming though, because
wait.
This is you deducing.
Wait, not just deducing. The autopsy was read out. Okay. When the autopsy was read out, it was not read out by a pathologist or any form of a doctor. It was read out by a cop, a top cop, and he read it out of a paper. If you're a doctor, listen. This is why I'm saying Aproko and Olunloyo need to talk on Twitter, and I'm sure they will, and other doctors. If you are listening as a medical professional, and you are hearing, and you see the combination of drugs this woman gave M0hBad, she did her job, but she's not supposed to infuse him on her own. She's supposed to have supervision. If I were the RN, the registered nurse above her, I would tell her, give him ceftriaxone injection. Instead, give him IM. IM is a route, intramuscular, in the buttocks. Don't give him IV. It went straight into his veins. So if he had any kind of opiates in his system, it will react. One, the question is, why did M0hBad want to go to the hospital? He was hiding something. Drugs were in his system. And once you go into a hospital and they take your urine, anything they find in there will be in the books. So that when there's an investigation of any kind, MDLA knew, this doctor knew, it's public knowledge to those ones now. So that is what happened. He refused to go to the hospital. He refused to go to the hospital, and he did what I would call interaction. And the girl was so panicky, she ran to get the blood pressure medicine. It didn't work. So that's why that now explains the scenario in the car. Meanwhile, the press conference. Naira Marley and what's the name of that guy? Sam Larry. They will be kept for 3 weeks. They might let them go before 3 weeks, but on the press conference, they said that they're going to be monitored because they're investigating the bullying allegations. Naira said he's paid all his royalties to him, everything, but the bullying allegations, they did a good job. They authenticated every single video. See why I said I'm not posting this video? I can't. You have to authenticate videos, date and time. Cost $5,000 to authenticate one video. They spent a lot of money on this investigation. I'm sure they've reached $8 million. So the doctors, the pathologists, all the team did a good job. And what they found out was, yes, in fact, there was some form of bullying. You know what's going to happen with that? Naira Marley would bring his big lawyers, Sam Larry would bring his own, and then they'll say, she this boy fights, man to man, this. It doesn't matter now. What ultimately caused his demise was a interaction. The way CP said it was the drug that Miss Feishara, let me just call her Miss Fei, the nurse, Ogedengbe, injected him. So now, we that were professionals in the field, we know that the medicines that she injected were a good combination, but M0hBad reacted to the medications in a bad way. And why did he react to ceftriaxone like that? There's many cephalosporins. There's a group of cephalosporins. There's many cephalosporins we can use. Go to the hospital. Tetanus is not enough. Procaine is not enough. And if you have something that goes bad, if that nurse was not with him and it happened in the middle of the night while he was sleeping and being infused, it would have been found by inside the house. But the lesson is this: please stop using these drugs. Have other interaction with some other things that you might have to be given. I said that to 2 people here today. I said, you guys, you're smoking, using tramadol, you're using this. What if you get into a car crash in the next hour and they rush you to the hospital? What if the anesthesia reacts that you're abusing and you're not by? That's the first thing. Number 2, you have to go to the hospital. So that was my own thing. So all the little sideshow, the police said I shouldn't discuss the DNA anymore, that they'll take care of that. There's going to be another press conference, and that's going to be the what's it called? What I call the nuisance press conference. You know what I mean by the nuisance? The nuisance press conference, Naira Marley and all, they've already told us, Naira and Sam Larry, they've given us hints that they're going to let them go, but they will be monitored by NIS. Nigerian Immigration Service is going to monitor Sam Larry when he goes out of Nigeria and when he comes in. They'll be monitoring him as he's coming in and going out. If Sam Larry says, I have a show in Kenya and he has to go Kenya, they will put the date down, everything. They have to monitor them. They're in and out. So they've said that one. Cubana Chief Priest, Soso Berekon, those 2 guys, they are humanitarians, no doubt. They did their part. And the kind of stuff I heard today, and even with Benjamin and I have been chatting for 2 weeks. I'm tired. Those guys did a good job because they simply did what they're known for on social media. They gave that boy a second chance. They put the show together for him. That was M0hBad's show. But I just want to say to M0hBad up there, like, to Dow, like, I keep telling the artists, maybe the General Bitters is the brand that sponsored it. The General Bitters, pour it. Look at me doing the endorsement for Cubana. I've always said this when I was in Nigeria. And you boys, all the area boys, and Nigeria boys, if you want energy in the morning, take your bitters and add it to malt, 1 kind of malt, 2 cups of bitter or yogurt, and drink it in the morning. Your energy will be so big and nice. Nothing else. So go on stage with that in your system. Not only pill, more pill, all this pill, not those.